Hi, good evening, everyone. So, welcome to today's webinar on strategies to win the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. And this evening, we have the University of Bristol Commonwealth Scholars who will be here to share from their experience. So, feel free to drop your questions in the chat box and we'll attend to them. And if you're watching from YouTube later, you could also leave your comments. So, we'll start first like the CSC application question. And the first part of the application has to do with the development impact. So I'd like Amar to take that question. And that question is how your proposed study relates to A, development issues at the global, national, and local level. And the B part, development issues connected to your choosing CSE team and the wider sector. And that is a 200-word question. So Hamar, how do you think applicants can go about answering this question? You're muted.
Hi, sorry, I had some issues with my connectivity. Hi everyone. I am Aima and I'm pursuing my master's in water and environmental management. So for that question, I actually portrayed how bad the situation is of water in my home country, that is Pakistan, and also like the worldwide. So I actually took some courses from the degree that I was applying to, and I related that questions to the problem that the world was facing and that my home country was facing, and I correlated them. And that's how I wrote 200 words. So it's basically you have to you have to tell the bigger problem, and then you have to like tell what the problem is in your country. And after starting, how can you rectify the problem? So that's how I attempted that question.
Okay, thank you so much, Amma, for that. Fatima, do you want to add to that? So how do you think that applicants should go about answering that question?
Hi everyone, I'm Fatima. I am from the School of Education. So for me particularly, I connected the problem of out of school children at the global level, and then I also connected it at the national level for Pakistan. So it's pretty similar to what Aima was saying. So basically I talked about out of school children, I particularly talked about girls' education, and then I basically talked about why this issue requires a fix at the national or the local level. So basically I talked a little bit about, for example, things that were happening internationally like the EFA or the sustainable development goals. For me particularly, I connected everything to SDG 4, and I feel that this is something that the Commonwealth really wants you to do. It's basically connect everything that you want to do to the SDGs, because that's what they are geared towards, sort of basically geared towards doing this. One thing that you should definitely be doing is connect everything that you want to do, everything on your agenda, like link it to the SDGs.
Thank you so much, Fatima, for that. Yeah, just as they said, so you want to back up your answer with data and get data from reliable sources. And one thing I always note people like the question is in three parts. So beyond the global level, relate it to your country because they want you to solve this problem in your country. So give us data also in your country. And if possible, if you have data at the local level to say, okay, maybe for instance, I work in this community, maybe through my personal survey or my experience, I experienced this kind of issue. You can also add that to the part. And don't forget, like, because I've reviewed essay, people always keep the last part that says how development issue connected to your choosing CSA team. So for any course you're writing, don't just do the A part to talk about the problem and everything and leave the B part. State it there to say if it's like as education, like Fatima was talking about, say, okay, so inclusion of children out of school, this connects to the CSE team of access, inclusion, opportunity. So depending on your team, just try to add that to the question. So we'll go to the next question, which is, how do you intend to apply your new skills and qualifications when you return back home? So Fatima, can you help with that question? And it's like 100 words. So how do you think they should answer the question on how do you intend to apply your new skills and qualifications when you return home after?
So basically what I did was I took specific modules which were part of the program catalog for what I for my course, and I basically took those courses that I felt would be relevant to what I wanted to do once I came back home, and I connected those to this question. So specifically, one part of what I wanted to do was basically, make a new curriculum which was anti-radicalized. Okay. So basically, I wanted to do that. So that directly connects with one of my modules, which was education, peace, and sustainability. So I took that module. I talked about what I would learn from that module. And then I also talked a little bit about how researching with a specific professor who runs that module would be beneficial for me. So I took these two things and took the skills that I would be learning from there. And then I wrote this little bit.
Okay, Ima, how did you approach that question?
Yeah, so same as Fatma, she has mentioned all the major things. So I attempted this question the way I asked my question, what I want to do when I go back. So with that answer that I have, I actually connected with my modules, and then also the research that I want to do here and the skills that I will be learning. And I just jotted down in like one paragraph of 100 words.
Okay, yeah, good. So for me, I also approached that too, was like, I was mentioning places that I was going to like work, which is I was like telling them I was returning back to my organization where I already worked and would go and apply the skills there. And then I talked about like building partnership with other organizations. So I was so specific. So one thing I would also encourage applicants to do is to be as specific as possible. Mention these skills. What skills exactly? Just say I'll go back home. I need the skills acquired in my master program. Is it the skill in research? Is it the skill in communication? Is it the skill of what exactly? So mention these skills and state where, how, and how you apply that. I think that will also be a good way to approach that question. So the third question is, what do you expect will change in development terms following your studies, including, so it's like a three-part question. The A part is the outcomes that you aim to achieve. And then the B part is the time frame for their implementation. And then the C part is who the beneficiaries will be. And it's a 250-word essay. So again, Fatima, how do you think they can approach this question?
So once again, I basically outlined everything that I wanted to do. And then I talked about sort of how those things would be making an impact. So I essentially approach this the same way that you would approach like a research proposal, for a course that you were doing at university. And then and once again, be very specific, like Precious was saying. So basically, if you were talking about how everything needs to be implemented and how everything is going to be measured, you need to talk about, like, for example, for example, for me, it was curriculum. So I basically talked about the fact that curriculum is not something that is going to create an overnight change, but this is something like I would want to pilot this curriculum in, for example, the province of Punjab in the next 5 years. And then I will hopefully get on board the government of Pakistan, and then I would start rolling this out in the rest of the country, right? So basically, it needs to have a very sort of research-based approach, to the sense that you really need to underline and highlight how you can sort of, pitch like a project, and then like sort of approach everything in time frames. So I did something like in the 5-year time frame, and then I talked about how like this could be taken forward. And then obviously for me, if I get to implement it at larger level, it's going to be something that the entire of my country can sort of benefit for. So you can talk about that as well. But yeah, basically talk about your target populations, talk about specific time frames, and just try to make it as concise as possible.
Okay, sorry about the distraction. Okay, so Sadiq, here. So we're just answering the part that has to do with the development impact. And we are the third question that said that, what do you expect will change in development following your studies? So the outcomes, the aim to achieve, the time frame, and the beneficiaries. So I want you to share some light on this, because like you are in the health, like you applied under the health sector. So how did you go about answering that question? So Mr. Razak, up to you.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hi, we
Tima.
can hear you.
Precious. Yeah, you can hear me good. Good evening, good afternoon, irrespective of, the time zone in your various area. Yeah, it's actually a very great opportunity to be here live, speaking with prospective scholar. I'm Oladapo Razak Kayode. I'm currently a commercial scholar at the prestigious University of Bristol, at the Bristol Medical School, to be precise, studying MSc Epidemiology. Although I joined very late, and when you were also trying, Precious, when you were trying to, to draw my attention to what I'm going to answer, I didn't, get the glimpse of what I was expected to talk about. So perhaps you just do a recap again.
Okay, I'll just do that. So is the CSE question on what do you expect will change in development terms following your study? So the outcomes that you aim to achieve, the time frame for the implementation, and who the beneficiaries will be.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. And also it's very important that those that are in the health line, they actually pay closer attention to this. I was speaking from my health perspective. What is very important for you to have a goal, like Fatima has said earlier, from the very first essay, if you've had a target, you have a particular problem that you aim to solve. For example, you are passionate about reducing the incidence of HIV among pregnant women, say for example, in your country. So when you come down to what you intend to change, you should, as a matter of fact, speak to that problem holistically from your developmental impact statement, because it actually draws, a lot of information from that very first essay. Additionally, when you are looking at the impact and the beneficiaries, like I said, from your developmental impact, you've already mentioned to us that, yeah, you wish to solve the problem of HIV incidence among that specific population. But may I you know that it's not only the pregnant women that will be critical stakeholders in this situation. So apart from pregnant women, you should be able to expand to other critical population that might, in one way or the other, benefit from that your intervention. Say, for example, you can expand to under 5 population, because pregnant women, they are the one that will definitely give birth to younger generation. So if you also expand it to that kind of, you expand the scope of your population. Additionally, the Ministry of Health in your country will benefit. In fact, they are critical stakeholders in your, in your impactful programming in your country. So apart from the government stakeholders, those that should also benefit from your impact should also be local NGOs, because they are there, struggling to achieve a balance, in the sense that they want to eradicate HIV infection in your country. So your intervention should be able to support those organizations as well. Apart from this, you may also want to look at, how your intervention might have influence on policy. So we look into the aspect of, intergovernmental and intergovernmental organizations like WHO, UNICEF. So you should be able to find a way, a link between how, your problem, the problem that you intend to solve, we also have, a rebounding impact on those critical organizations that are already fighting, they're struggling to solve that problem in your country. Now, when it comes to the timeline, because quite a number of us, we run into the trap of, mentioning ambitious projects, but I used to advise folks that whenever you want to put that pen on your paper, or perhaps when you want to type something on your system, try to be very, very realistic. Look at whatever you want to say. Even if you want to, if you are planning to write that, okay, by next year, I want to become the president of the whole world. Please, you have to digest that question. I mean, that you write up. Look at it. Am I being very truthful? Or am I being very realistic with what I'm putting on the table? So that's why whenever I'm advising folks like this, I will always tell them that please try to be as simple as possible in your approach. Be very, very simple, and let your simplicity be also logical. So don't just be like, okay, I will, when I return back home, I will return back to my, my organization, I will do this. You should be able to, to explain to us in simple and clear terms, logical, how your intervention is going to benefit, those populations. No, so now let's take, for example, you've already highlighted in your developmental impact statement that you tend to solve the issue of HIV prevalence among those populations. So I expect to see how immediately you return back to your country, how you will be able to, to start working in that line, on a gradual level. Yeah, we you are ambitious, but at the same time, you should just be able to start from, the lowest level. Okay, when you return back to your organization, or if your organization is not implementing a program or is not supporting a program, how do you intend to leverage the knowledge that you have acquired in the UK and be able to, to connect it with the problem that you intend to solve? Along that line, you should also be able to tell us what are the indicators, key indicators that can tell us how your work has actually been, how the impact of your work has been felt. So, and when we look at this from the issue of HIV prevalence that I mentioned, we want to check the incidence of HIV among this population. So you're not bringing in indicators that are not part of, that are outside your scope. You're actually trying to tell us that, okay, see, presently HIV prevalence is high. So my impact overall will be to reduce the prevalence of HIV. But you should also be very realistic. You cannot alone reduce the prevalence of HIV. And as a matter of fact, when you're looking at that, you should just take a look at it on in terms of what are the things, what are the impact that you can make at your own individual level, leveraging the skill and the network that you're going to make using, wherever you're going back to, that is in your country, as a bedrock for those implementation. So by and large, you should be able to tell us in clear terms, one, when I return back, these are going to change. In fact, I advise some people to use bullet points. Yes, you can list them so that it will be very clear, including the timeline for those implementation. Yes, when I return back, I intend to engage stakeholders to ensure that we sit on a round table and discuss about the issue in my country. Yes, when do you want to do this, and how long will it take you to achieve this? So just be realistic. It's very simple. And lastly, on this particular aspect, I always say it still rallies around the developmental impact statement. If you have gotten the developmental impact statement wrong, believe me, whenever you get to this aspect, you still struggle to balance, because they are still asking the same question, but in another way, in an expanded form, to just tell them, okay, what and what do you think is going to be impacted from that your problem? The way you plan to solve your problem in the first essay. So let me just leave it here in case we have further question. So, and also please apologies for coming late. I was actually handling some other things, so sorry.
Okay, thank you so much, Razak, for that. Yeah, this is actually true, because when you talk about being realistic, like I've read essays, people are saying immediately they come back, they are building schools. See, you don't think that when you lie or like exaggerate situation will make them give you the scholarship. They won't give you the scholarship because they know that you cannot achieve that. There's no way that you are able to build schools. If you're able to build schools, you won't be asking for the scholarship in the first place. So say simple things and simple changes that you can make. So that will be beneficial. So we'll go to the next question, Fatima, that says how the impact of your work could be best measured, and it's 100 words. So how can they measure this development impact thing that they've written already in their essays?
So for this, I think that if there are any indicators that, sort of you can meet during the course of your proposed research proposal, sort of, basically you need to list these indicators, and you need to talk about which indicator is going to be, be met at what stage. So for example, if stage 1 is a pilot study, you're going to talk about what when you can basically, start this pilot study, and what can you learn, and then you need to make sure that you have time to address sort of the issues that you foresee in that pilot study, and sort of like make sure that they aren't there in wider research. So yeah, just make sure that any indicators that you have, you write them down. This is a very, very short bit, so make sure that anything that you write, you get the impact across in 100 words. Because I feel for a lot of scholars who have gotten in touch with me and everything, a lot of the problem that they have is making sure that the word count stays limited. So yeah, make sure that you do that.
Fatima, for that. Yeah, so like Razak is giving instance of health, for example. So to measure health, the impact it would be, say, it's reduction in the number of women who have HIV/AIDS. Increase in maybe in the number of people who are HIV positive taking their drugs. So yeah, so when they see data statistics around this area, they actually know that this your intervention is working. So just simple ways on, like, when you're doing a project or whatever idea you have, or where you're applying this your skills, just how can you measure this thing? It's just simple as basic. That is what that question is required from you. So we'll go to the fifth. The BPAP, which is a proposed study in the UK. So Mr. Razak listing is saying that you should provide a short outline of your proposed study and research. So this should be written for an audience that does not have any prior knowledge of the subject and must not be overly technical. So any abbreviation or specialist terms must be explained. So this is your study outline, and they have 125 words, like you in the medical field. So how did you go about like answering this part of the question?
Yeah, thank you very much, Precious. I could remember that I actually find it very, very difficult, coming up with an essay of just 125 words, like you have said, in a plain language. And whenever CSE says something should be presented in a plain language, believe me, if you engage, if you leverage overly, complex words, it will definitely be flagged. So you should be as simple as possible, in the sense that if you pick the essay and read it to my grandma, although educated a bit, she should be able to pick out the point that you are trying to make. Now, that's the simple aspect of it. Now, when you look at communicating it to CSE as cases now, it's very important for us to link our program to the to the developmental issue already identified. That's one. And secondly, you should be able to talk about the course modules. In fact, this aspect, I usually tell guys that, this aspect is just about your course modules. Talk about your course modules in simple, statements. Okay, I'm interested in this university because of these modules, because it will give me the opportunity to garner XXX knowledge, which will help me to solve XXX problem, as it is, as you have it in your country, as the case is. Now, when you are introducing the body, the introduction of the essay, it's quite important that you do not tell us that it's because the university is top rank in this particular contest. Because another person might tell you, okay, we have another university, in the US, is highly ranked, even more than this university that you are looking at. So why didn't you try to push your application to that place? So that's why this essay should be devoid of overly technical terms. One, you should speak to your developmental issue already mentioned in the first essay. That's two. Three, you should be able to tell us in clear terms how those modules in the, in the course could help you achieve your goal in simplest terms, as the case should be, please. And additionally, if you have, you still have some words anyway, you could also link it with what you are currently doing in your country. Say, for example, you are the program manager for a particular NGO in your country. Yeah. So by the time you introduce this, the problem statement that, okay, you envisage studying for this particular course in this university because you intend to solve this particular problem. Specifically, the program has been designed with the following modules. You can just mention 2 or 3, and these modules, they will help you to get, to acquire research skills, critical thinking skills. Lastly, you can now link it up with what you are currently doing. Okay, as a program manager in my, present organization, leveraging these particular skills, in addition to the skills that you already have in your present role, that is effective communication from stakeholders engagement, so many other transferable skills. With that, you could, successfully come to the UK, acquire your MSc degree, go back to your country, and become very impactful in another role, subsequent role that you're gonna climb. But I mean, the ladder that you're gonna climb whenever you come back to your country. So, in a simple term, in fact, one of my friends used to tell me that in that particular essay, you might not actually exhaust the 125 words from his own perspective, because it should actually be communicated to an audience that do not understand what you're actually trying to say, if it is crafted in an overly technical statement. So just be very simple, like Fatima has said. It should be very simple as much as possible, and let your problem resonate in all the essays. It should start from the very first essay to the second, down to the last essay. So let them see what you are passionate about. Let them see the problem that you intend to solve, and let them see how you have been able to progress in your career, and what are the things that you have gathered so far that make you to be a potential candidate to solve that problem whenever you come back to your country to implement those plans. So that's my submissions on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Razak, for that. Yeah, just as the question has said, this is not the time to show that you understand grammar too much. Don't use a lot of big words, or don't use scientific terms so that they will know, okay, yes, I'm a biologist. You start speaking cells, speaking the big medical terms. Doing that is going to put your application off, because you don't know who is going to read your application. It might not be someone who is even in the medical field. So just write something that even a child or anybody that reads it, irrespective of the field the person belongs to, will be able to understand what your essay application is about. So we'll go to the next one, Fatima, that says that provide a detailed plan of your proposed study. So the selection panel will want to understand, why have you selected your proposed course and university? And then it says, describe clearly, why have you chosen your proposed course and university, and why do you want to undertake this study in the UK? The other part is, what is it that you're looking for in a course, and how your choosing course relates to your objective? The other one is any dissertation topic you have in mind. So this is the detailed plan of study, and it's 300 words. Yeah, they have like a lot of words to write. So how should they answer that question?
So what I suggest people should do is that they should link what they have done, that is your work experience, your prior degree, everything. And you basically sort of talk about the fact that everything that you have done is brought you to this point, sort of, right? And then you talk about the fact that why are you passionate about this particular problem, and then how is this particular course in this particular university going to help you overcome these problems back home. So for me, I have been teaching for a very long time. I was a research assistant in education as well. And I've already worked on curriculum development, and I've been working on history education in Pakistan. So basically, I took that, I linked it. What I wanted to do was what I want to do after I go back home, and that is basically creating a new history curriculum. And then I talked about the fact that how this course how this education policy course is going to help me create a policy direction for history education back in Pakistan. And then I connected it with specific professors who were working on this field in Bristol University. I talked about, for example, the Education, Justice and Memory Project, which is something that the University of Bristol is doing. They're also doing some work in Pakistan, so I got lucky that way. So you need to talk about all of these things, and in this particular, sort of essay, you can, in this particular question, you can really sort of let your passion shine through. So, and that is something I feel that, like scholarship committees, it really shines through to them that you are passionate about a certain thing, and that's why you're applying. So just really let your passion and your experience do the work for you, and make sure that you are talking about everything, and sort of talk about why this a course at this university can be helpful for you, but also talk about how you can be an asset to the university as well, because it's a give and take relationship, right? So just make sure that there's a good balance between both these things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Fatima. Razak, do you want to add to this question? Let's get your thoughts since you are in the medical field.
Yeah, definitely. I will need to add. Fatima, many thanks for your submission of that. Is actually very, very cogent at the way you have highlighted that aspect. Additionally, I will only add to what Fatima has said. When attempting this particular aspect, let's pay closer attention to the use of our words, and let's do our research very, very well. I have my reason for this. Here, you are expected to use, in fact, very, very technical words. You are allowed. However, do not place the dictionary beside you, and be quoting words directly from the dictionary. It won't help really, because I realize that the more you make use of big grammars, the more frustrated these people, they become. They will just be telling you that you want to be teaching them English, which actually emanated from them. Anyway, Fatima, just correct me if I'm wrong. So what am I saying in essence? When trying to answer this question, we can create like a funnel, or should we create a pyramid, as the case may be. Start with your own overall goal. Like I said, let that problem that you are passionate about solving always resonate in all your essays. That's one. The first, if that is the first paragraph, the second paragraph should talk about the ranking of that university in just simple sentence. It shouldn't be like you will now be quoting, QS ranking, be quoting Times higher ranking, all those ranking. They already know this. And whenever you quote, statement like that, please reference it appropriately. Reference it appropriately, even if you are not using the latest, ranking. Perhaps you are not aware of the latest edition of the university ranking. You understand? So just ensure that it is appropriately referenced. Now, whatever you say, you must connect it to your problem. In fact, I will say that you and your problem should be going together whenever you are writing your essay. And whenever you want to write D, remember that your problem that you want to solve. The D must go alongside with that your problem. And that will actually guide you in wasting words, because you might end up writing stories which might not actually be connected to your problem. But if you have this at the back of your mind that, okay, the first statement is this university, it occupies the first position in the world. So what does that mean? You've not to some of them, you've not actually written anything, and you've not communicated appropriately. Okay, it is ranked third in the world according to QS ranking, and as such, it will avail me the opportunity to gain evidence-based knowledge that will have global impact. That has differentiated you from someone that copied and paste from another person's essay. Now, if you are able to connect that in just a simple sentence, in fact, you might actually mention quite a number of things in this essay. By the time you look at it, it is very, very dense, highly concentrated with a lot of information. So apart from the university ranking, look at the impact of the university in terms of research. So go and look at the classification of that university, or if the university is among the Russell University. So if you mention that, okay, it's because the university has impactful research in accordance to Rev 2014, this, you have not mentioned anything. You need to still connect it with your problem. Okay, the university is well known for research. As such, you'll be able to, you'll be exposed to, quality research that will help you solve that problem that you intend to solve. Like I said earlier, you and your problem should be going alongside whenever you are writing your essay. Your problem should be here, you should also be here. So whenever you write a statement, remember your problem. Also, when you have mentioned something like this, you can as well move down to the department itself. Look at the department. What has motivated you in picking, in choosing that university, and specifically that department, that program? So you can tell us that, okay, the department is well known in the aspect of research because it has many faculties that are well known, carrying out research in so line. For example, in HIV programming line. So, and they have publication in reputable journals. So you can just say that in a simple sentence. That's about the department on its own. Now, from there, move down to a specific faculty member. Looking at the lecturer, okay, the work of a particular lecturer, quote the work of that lecturer. It will show that you have actually carried out your research. So connect it with your problem that you want to solve. Like I said, you and your problem, you are like this. So when you are done mentioning this, then you should also remember that whenever you are rounding up each of the paragraphs, as you have opened it with your problem, please always close it with your problem, because nobody will close it for you. You close it for yourself. Now, moving down, you might now want to talk about the research, the dissertation that you intend to work on. Now, this particular aspect, I will be very, very blunt, because even you yourself, you are not aware of whatever dissertation you'll be working on. Some of us are also we are still in the process of choosing a particular topic. So as such, you must be very, very flexible in your approach. Don't say that whenever I come to Bristol, I will work on the dissertation to, just mention the dissertation. You don't actually need that. Please, when you are joining the call, you can do well to mute yourself, please. So be very flexible. And whenever you are presenting your dissertation topic, please remember your problem. Remember the SDG that your problem is affecting. Remember the specific SDG target that your problem is impacting. Now, for example, let's say we are looking at the HIV prevalence in your country. HIV prevalence definitely will impact SDG 3 of good health and well-being. And if you look down into the target, the indicator, the target of SDG 3 as the subgroup, you realize that perhaps, correct me if I'm wrong, if it's actually hit SDG 3.4, which is to eliminate or to reduce the incidence of infectious diseases. Now, if you come up with the fact that, okay, you intend to work on probing into to evaluate interventions that could be used to solve HIV prevalence in low and middle income countries, that's your dissertation. But you have not mentioned anything. A layman could also put that one in paper. So what will differentiate the two of you is this. Immediately you mention that statement, that's a dissertation topic, you should be able to tell us what is the importance of this dissertation. Yeah, I'm interested in carrying out my dissertation on so, because evidence as reviewed or available evidence suggests, or findings have revealed that so amount of, quote a percentage. Please be very, very blunt and let it be correct information. Now, when you quote, attribute it to the SDG that particular problem is impacting. And let them realize that if this thing is not solved, you definitely, the country, the low and middle income country will definitely be in a mess. And if you close it like as such, you should also remember that you don't have control over your dissertation. The final verdict of what you're going to work on depend on your supervisor. So you might find it important to also let them know that, although this is what I actually wish to do, but it is subject to change based on your supervisor's advice and the available resources as well. So as such, whosoever is reading your essay, we definitely know that you are being very, very plain, logical, and you can actually be differentiated from the crowd. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Razak, for those points. I mean, like, you've done justice exactly to that question. But then again, something I want to say is always take note of the question. What I like about the CS is that it gives you pointers on what exactly you should answer. It's asking you again that, why do you want to take this study in the UK? Another way you can be creative about this is, if the UK government have a policy in this area of your work, you can say, oh, the UK government is very good with food security policy. And then you mentioned this policy of this. You said, by studying the UK, I can learn how to take snippets from this policy and go back home to help our country to develop good policy around this area. That already has answered that question of why do you want to study in the UK? Because you can decide to study in the US. In the US, they're doing something that in Canada, they have good education system. In Australia, there's good education system. So they exactly want to know exactly why is it that it's the UK of all places in the world. And again, another thing too, just as Razak said, there are institutions that rank particularly for a particular courses. There are some universities that they know them for media. There are some universities that they know them for medicals. There are some universities that they know them from agriculture. So you can say, maybe the University of UK has the best institute in the world for agriculture. But don't just leave it at that. They know that they're already the best. Just as Razak said, that, okay, by studying at this best place, don't just say they have facility. All the UK university have good facilities. Don't just say, and the UK have good facility and we have access to the lab. It's everywhere. What is the name of that lab? And what are they doing in that lab? Do they have specific research group? So mention those specific research group to say, okay, the research group called, maybe the research group of food and health. This group, they do research in this. And if you know, just dig deep to find out what they are doing. Have they ever worked in your country before? To say, okay, the people worked in my country before. So that means if I study here, I'm meeting this lecturer, picking ideas from this to come and implement projects around this area. So you can go about things like that. Then the issue of dissertation, again, now, to be on the safe side, I always tell people, don't just look at your university. Like, when I was applying for my scholarship, as if I know everything about the University of Bristol. Like, I check all the lecturers in my faculty. I went to check what they were doing, check their research interest area, and then I picked the one that aligned with my own. So in my application, I just tell you to say, see, this faculty, we have this research group. We have this lecturer. I was mentioning the lecturer and be as specific as possible. I said, lecturer, this is working in the area of this. So if I study here, I will have access to meet this lecturer, and then we build my capacity, to implement my project, networking opportunities. So you can list that exactly in your essay. Also, be very careful. You might have a research area, but it's different from what your faculty is focused on. Maybe you're interested in something that have to do with children's health and you want to take an health course. But you look at your department, there is no lecturer or anybody in children's health. Don't go and write children's health. Because the school know that they don't work around that area. They will just say, this person did not even study our school. Even though you say a course is so broad, they have specific area they focus on. Just tie your work around that area. Even though you have intention of doing something else, just to take advantage of the scholarship. Mind you, what you write there does not mean you must work in that area. Like what I wrote, I wanted to work on when applying is totally different from what I want to do now. When you start your master's, you might see different areas that interest you. So just pick broad areas. I was saying, I want to work on specific of child marriage, for instance. Why not just say, okay, I'm interested in, specific of child marriage in Ogijo community. Say, just make it broad to say, I'm interested in issues of inequality, justice. So it's broad. so that whatever area I decide to pick, then okay, at least this person is open to different areas. So I'll just go to the next question so we don't flog much on this. So the next question is the career plan section. The career plan section. And it's saying that career plan. The selection panel will want to understand how your proposed study will assist you in your career. Describe the skills that you expect to gain from this scholarship and your career plan once you return home afterward. So which is the 7th one, Fatima, objective during the award, and it's 250 words. So how do you think that they can go about answering?
Once again, just make sure that you're talking about specific skills that you're gaining from your UK degree and then connecting them to whatever you want to do once you get back home. And one thing that I particularly did I think it was this section, I basically talked about different FCDO projects which are working in Pakistan, and basically saw which ones aligned with what I could do, because the ultimate goal for something like the Commonwealth scholarship or for even for the Shielding is that they want you to be an asset for them in your home country once you return, right? So basically I talked about different projects that they had going on for for history education for out of school children, and basically I talked about how I could then fit into those projects. So yeah.
Zach, how did you go about answering that question?
Okay, is that a career plan question, right?
The career plan section. That your objective during the award.
Okay. Let me just leverage what Fatima has said. Yeah, again, remember, you have a problem that you intend to solve. Mention the problem again, and how the cause is solved will help you to solve that problem. And having mentioned that, there should also be some other specific objectives that you intend to achieve with your program. Now, yeah, you might decide to write everything in terms of putting paragraph like that, or you create a bullet points after you have actually opened a paragraph to introduce your objectives. So, for example, you might want to say that, okay, I'm interested in SSS course at SSS University because the program, we avail you XSX knowledge. So that's actually like the summary of what the course will give to you from your developmental impact problem. Now, I haven't mentioned this. You might now try to give us a bullet point of what you achieve with that course. So, for example, you might want to say XSS modules, we avail you XSS knowledge in the use of XSS to solve XSS problem, which is related to your problem that you intend to solve in your country. That's one bullet point. You might also want to talk about, okay, when you come down to the UK, you want to be, you want to vie for political positions, like my chief Precious. She's the regional coordinator for CSC. So you might want to tell us that you intend to improve your communication as well as your leadership skills through something like that. So mention it, they will know, oh, wow, this portion is very, very ambitious. The third bullet might be, okay, I want to engage in internship, or volunteering program. In fact, mention the name of that organization that you intend to volunteer for. For example, the health arm of the UK government is actually NHS, National Health Service. So you might tell us that, okay, you intend to carry out, to engage in internship or to volunteer for NHS in the role of XSS. During my own time, I wrote that I intend to volunteer for British Red Cross Society because in Nigeria, I was actually a Red Crosser. So I intend to continue doing that while in the UK. Now, fifth level, you are not just here to, just to read. You're also here to, to visit places, explore. So you might want to mention something like, okay, you want to visit tourist places, check, you have your internet, surf the internet, check different places that are, that are prominent in the location where your university is situated. So you can quote it. I wish to visit Temple Mill Station to explore whatever is there. Additionally, you are not just coming, to the UK Council of CSC without you abiding by the rules and regulations. So you might also want to say that, okay, one of your objectives that you will, abide by the rules and regulations, so that you not just come here and, And lastly, please, you opened the essay with something like a paragraph to introduce your problem, tell us about your school and why you are interested in that school, with your specific objective mentioned, like 5 bullet points. Please, also write it. It's very important for you to close that essay. So you might want to close it with another paragraph telling us that you're already in a particular position in your country. You are exposed to the problem. Mention that problem. Like I said, you and your problem, please go together. So, excuse me. So mention the problem again. Tell them that you tell us that you are already, doing 1 or 2 things to solve that problem in Nigeria. However, you have limited resources in terms of knowledge, in terms of the skills, in terms of your network, in terms of other resources. And CSC is actually what can give you the leverage for you to acquire that knowledge, come back to Nigeria and implement it successfully. Thank you.
Okay, before Fatima goes, like I'll ask her a question and then if she have like some advice because she has deadlines to meet so that I don't keep her waiting. So Fatima, take this next question, which is the career plan in the 5-year following this award. So how do you think that applicants can go about this question?
Yeah, so basically just talk about where you see yourself personally in the next 5 years, talk about your own career goals, and talk about how the CSE can help you sort of advance your own personal career goals, because you've already talked about the project per se, but now you need to talk about yourself specifically. That's basically what I did. I basically talked about a couple of places that I wanted to work at once I get back home, and then I said that maybe, working at that place will help me sort of equip myself later on for perhaps pursuing a PhD. So this is how I basically answered that question. And once again, everything like Razak and everyone has pointed out up till now, everything needs to be linked back to your development impact essay, you and the SDGs that you want to sort of work on. So just make sure that in every point and in the application, you keep making that connection. Don't lose that connection, because that's going to go against you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for that option. Razak,
I'm just gonna go, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good luck. No problem. And good luck to everyone who's applying. And thank you, Precious, for organizing this. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Fatima, thanks for that.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Don't forget our meeting. No, bye.
Razak, do you want to add to the career plan in the 5 years? Yes,
yes, I would love to add to that. In terms of your career plan in the next 5 years, following the completion of the program, excuse me, while you might actually have ambitious plan, the way you present those plans goes a long way, in convincing the reviewer. And having said that, you might actually find it very important to start from the scratch as soon as you turn back to Nigeria. Because after your program, if you turn back to Nigeria, it's not feasible that you immediately, become the Minister of Health in Nigeria. Something must have happened, that will have made you to be in that position. So I will just say that when introducing this aspect, you can break it down in terms of, having a logical timeline. You can just structure it in such a way that, okay, when you return back, post-study, that's from, say, the first day to maybe 6 months, what are the things that you intend to do? After 6 months, in the next, the next 2 years following that 6 months, what do you intend to do? After that 2 years following your study, till the end of that 5 years, what are the things that you intend to do? So let's take this for example. You are passionate about, reducing the prevalence of HIV in Nigeria, and currently you work as a program manager in your country, in one NGO in your country. So let's take, for example, your career plan. As soon as you are done with your program, you turn back to rejoin your current organization. because you're already working in that line. So when you return there, nobody will give you the role of, maybe regional director because you have returned back from the UK. You are welcome. Nobody will elevate you like that. Rather, it will definitely, show from whatever you might have contributed to that organization, and you need to vie for that position. You need to, to apply before you get promoted. So I would just love to structure that when you come back, share the knowledge that you have acquired with your fellow colleagues at work. So share it with them. Okay, how do you intend to share it? You can share it through seminar, through workshops, and additionally, you may actually attend conferences, by the time you return back. That's 6 months, between 0 and 6 months that you return back to Nigeria. So after the first 6 months of your return, what are the things that you're also going to engage in? You might want to say that, okay, by that time, you apply to become XXS in that organization, or you move to another organization in an higher role. So when you join that organization or become promoted in that your present organization, what are the things that you are going to do that will still be in line with your developmental, impact statement, but this time around, it will be a bit expanded, because it is expected that after your program, you will have acquired enough resources at least to make that impactful, to make impact in your role. So you might want to say that, okay, when after I apply to become, the regional director of your present organization, and as such, you will coordinate, you will direct, you will spearhead programs, that are deeply rooted in analytics and strategic work to support, beating down the higher incidence of HIV prevalence in your country. And at this point as well, please be very, very specific. You can't tell us that you want to become the regional coordinator without having a boundary, your geographical scope. If you're going to become the state coordinator, just mention the name of the state for us. Be realistic. Okay, when I return back, after I might have been promoted to XSS position, using my skill to do this and this. In this role, I will support Kebbi State, I will support Kaduna State, I will support this state. So be very, very specific. Additionally, you might also want to mention that, okay, apart from this, I will use my influence, to extend the collaboration of my organization with other organizations that are also carrying out, that are in that line of health implementation. So you might want to reach out to other local NGOs, support them. You can even connect to ensure that the problem you want to solve have, an enormous impact. For example, you might want to extend the impact of your program outside HIV to GBV. So you might want to reach out, collaborate with other organizations that are in this area, already implementing program in this area, and bring them on board to achieve a common goal. So after that, you might also want to tell us that, okay, in this role, you will attend conferences. Just mention those conferences. You have your internet there, do your search. What are the conferences that are available in that your field that you can actually attend while you've returned back to your country? That is 2 years post graduation. So after that, you might want to tell us, okay, do you want to go for your PhD program? So why do you think PhD is the next thing for you to do? So just convince us, okay, I want to do my PhD in epidemiology because XXS, and that should also be linked to your problem. However, it should be more expanded now, in terms of the way you will present your submissions. It should be very, very logical at this time and be a bit more concentrated, so to say, as against the developmental goal. So from there, you might also want to tell us that, okay, if you engage in a PhD program, what other things can the UK government benefit from you? So it's also very, very vital that you mention stuff like that. Okay, when I go for my PhD, or don't even tell us, you might even decide not to tell us the country where you're gonna, undertake your PhD. Just let us know that this PhD program will allow you to also connect, with professors in the UK, with UK universities, with research centers in the UK, to engage in, translational health research that we bring about policy change. You influence policy with your recommendations, with your solutions, and this will also increase the bond between your country and the United Kingdom. They want to see stuff like that. And lastly, just close it again by telling them that you need this scholarship because you have ambitious plan. Yeah, you know that the plans are quite big, but nevertheless, they are quite achievable with the support from from CSE and also the resources that you are gonna garner during your stay in the UK and when you return back to Nigeria. Those goals are quite achievable. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Razak, for that answer. And then to add something again, it is not compulsory that you must do a PhD. When I did my application, I did not say I was going to do a PhD and I still got a scholarship. So don't think that because you say you are going to do a PhD would make them give you the scholarship. So just be true to yourself and state exactly what you want to do. And remember, if you also want to do a PhD, just as Razak has said, what is the benefit of this PhD do you want to do? So you have to be relevant to this. So for me, like what I said is I was going to return back to my organization and be working. So within that 5-year period, I'm expanding the scope of our work and our reach. So I'm building partnership like with other organizations. And I was mentioning the names of the organization I want to build partnership with to expand our work. Be as specific as possible so they know the kind of person that you are. And then again, you can also want to tie this to what the UK government is doing in your country. You can see that under the development tracker or go to the UK government Facebook page in your country, they have them. Because my area is in the area of governance. So I know that the UK government was funding Action Aid on a project about youth and women participation in politics. So I told the UK government that, see, in 5-year time, I know you have a priority of civil society and governance because this is the area that I work on. And I'm saying because you funded Action Aid on this particular project. And when I come back, based on my development impact, what I wrote that I was going to do, I said, this is my work aligned with the work that you're already doing in my country. So by me doing this work, I'm complementing the efforts you are making to development. So you see that I was selling myself that I'm a solution provider. So sell yourself that you're a solution provider. And I also said, not that because I'll stop my master, I'll stop learning. I was like, since I work in development area, I'll continue to like take courses, go for fellowship and trainings like that. So you can also think and also tie your work around that. So we'll go to the next question, Razak, which is the personal statement. And it says, summarize the ways in which your personal background have encouraged you to want to make an impact in your own country. So it should indicate areas in which you have already contributed, such as having overcome any personal community barriers to higher education. So this is personal statement and they have a lot of words, like 500 words to add. So Razak, how do you think that they can answer?
Yeah, thank you very much, Precious. However, there is a question on the chat box there. So perhaps we are going to attend to that later. Yeah, for the personal statement, is actually an avenue for you to, to sell yourself. So I see that personal statement as a combination of your background, your interest, as well as your work experience. So when you see it like that, whatever you want to write should be within the scope of your background, how your background is connected to your problem, and how your problem is connected to your experience, and how your experience is, again, fueling that your passion. So you might want to tell us about, your background in Nigeria or in whatever country that you are. Okay, you've been, you can talk about perhaps the financial situation in your country and in your family and how you have actually overcome it, how that condition have not weighed you down to, to continue with your education. If you have mentioned that, tell us, let us know how that your background has fueled has made you to be very motivated in choosing that problem that you've already identified. For example, okay, despite your very challenging financial background, you've been able to get along, coursing of friends and support from friends, and you went to a university in XSS. During your program, you still struggled, financially to balance, but you were still able to support people. You render, free, perhaps tutorial stuffs to guys on campus, perhaps those that are even in your level. And at the end of the day, you're still able to come out in flying color. However, due to your passion for XXS, you were able to join a particular organization immediately after the program, or you were able to volunteer for XSS organization due to your passion, or you were able to, to intern in particular organization due to that your passion. Now, at that point, you should now tell us what are the experiences that you have gathered so far in that your field, and how that is connected to your problem. I mean, that problem that you intend to solve. So you should only mention those that are very, very critical and well connected to your developmental issue. Now, for example, you have volunteered as an health facilitator before. You've also worked with, say, for example, British Red Cross as volunteer as well. So let us know how these roles, how they have contributed, in giving you that experience in that field that you intend to acquire MSc, SSS in, or perhaps let us know how that has motivated you to want to apply for CSC scholarship. So talk more about your work experience. And if you don't have work experience, it's even very, very good at times. If you don't have work experience, you can connect it with whatever you've been doing on campus. Some of us were volunteers on campus. Tell us about how you have volunteered. And I will just be blunt. At the end of the day, by the time you look at it from this angle, you realize that you have actually done so much, but have not been documented. So we just have to sit down and think about it. What are the things that I've done that are well connected to this area that I'm interested in? That's when the thoughts will now start coming. Oh, wow, at some point, I supported a woman that was actually pregnant. And at the end of the day, when we took her to the clinic, she tested HIV positive. You've actually rendered service. You can let us know. It's also part of, the situation that you have faced and has, motivated you to want to pursue that career. Also, you might have participated in a number of conferences. Let us know who you have met, if they've actually impacted positively in your life. So conference attendance, networking, you might have as well been, maybe during your undergraduate, you were the rep in your class. You can mention it there, and what were you able to do. In fact, if these informations are not connected with your goal, you can say, for example, during your undergrad education, you were actually an electoral officer for the faculty election, and as such, after the election, you were awarded XSS for the smooth and free and fair election that you conducted. So these are some of the things that you have done, and that when you present it to the reviewer will know that, yeah, this person is passionate, this person is unique in his or her own way, and will be able to make impactful, to make that necessary impact if he or she return back to his country, to his or her country. So when you are now ending it as well, it's very important to close it with the developmental, impact statement. Try to connect it. Let us see it in every statement, in every paragraph. Let us see what you are passionate about, what you want to solve, and let it always flow. Now, some of us, we end up trying to disorganize the flow. When you are presenting your personal statement, it won't be logical if you start with your current work experience. And when I'm trying to assess the essay, after the first paragraph, I noticed that you've introduced your work experience. Okay, good. After the work experience, the reviewer will be very, very curious to know what you have done after your work experience. So immediately, I just look at the next paragraph. I just saw when I was in primary school. Oh, it's not connected. So after that one, the reviewer will be like, oh, perhaps he or she wants to connect it with something. But at the end of the day, you jump to the top paragraph and you were like, when I was in secondary school, the reviewer will just tell the panel that it seems this person is not organized. So let there be a logical flow of information from your background. Okay, don't tell us here that your background, you're financially strong as such. You need money from CSC. Nobody will give you money. Just convert that your challenge to strength. yeah, it was a weakness at one point, but convert it, just try to modify it to be a strength for you. And it's actually making you to be well resilient in the system, meaning that you can survive. If you could have survived in your country, you would definitely survive anyway. Additionally, don't ever sell your country so cheap. Let them realize that your country needs you and you want to come back to your country to make that impact. Don't tell them that, okay, Nigeria is suffering among all the countries, and as such, the country is this and this and that. You just look at it, you are not actually patriotic. And these are some of the principles that they are looking at in the candidate. So try to be very simple, logical in your flow of information, your background, how it has motivated you. Just open that first paragraph without your problem again. Tell us why you intend to solve that problem. Then move to the background information that you've gathered so far. Okay, my family didn't have enough resources, but I was able to secure scholarship due to my excellent nature. From there, you were able to get admission to university where you study SSS course and you graduated XSXS, in your graduating cohort. From there, tell us your work experience, what you have done so far, and how it's linked to the problem that you want to solve. Then close it with the fact that, in fact, if CSE is not going to give you this scholarship, they're actually missing out, because you are full of potential. You want to make that impact. So if they are not ready to give it to you, they should go. Another person will come and give you the scholarship. However, don't say that. Don't say anything like that. Rather, try to present it in such a way that the reviewer will look at it and say, "Oh, it's a must for us to give this person this scholarship, because he or she is actually very, very ambitious and has a logical flow of information." So when you close it, let them know that your background has actually motivated you more, to give back to your country. Let the word giving back to your country resonate as well in your essay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Razak, for doing justice to that question. Just to add to that, some people have this issue that they think CSE is for only first-class graduates. No, CSE is not only for those with, even though they always point to academic excellence, but it doesn't mean that they won't give you if you don't have a first-class degree. So I tell people here that part of the challenge, because they say barriers to education. So maybe if you did not do well academically, you want to also use this space to say, okay, maybe I graduated with this grade because maybe your parents are someone who did not support education. So you say, oh, I had to work extra. So in working extra, this made me struggle in my academics. But despite this, just as Razak has said, you want to show your strength, that despite this, even though I graduated with this degree, I've been able to contribute by helping other students who cannot acquire education, to get education this way. Yeah, so your personal experience could be your family experience. Maybe you want to work in the area of cancer, for instance. Maybe your grandmother had cancer, you saw the struggle she went through. So because of that, I decided to go to the medical field. You want to specialize in cancer. So just look at all these things and tie it together to your essay. Make yourself strong and let them know that you are the right person, because you're not the only one applying for this course. It's the way you tell your story that will say, is this person, if you don't give this person this scholarship, we are missing. Just as Razak has said, have this mindset that, yes, we know that you don't have the money to fund your education, that the scholarship body wants to fund you. See, it's a mutual beneficial relationship. That's what I tell people. CSC and you, is mutual beneficial relationship. CSC need you to make development in your country. You need CSC to give you money you want CSC to cover your education so that you can come back. So you can see that both of you have similar interests. So don't just sell yourself short to say, oh, I'm so poor. You're not the only poor person. It's not a poverty alleviation scheme that it's the only people that are poor. They will not fund the poor people. And then because of your poor, they are looking at your potentials too. So just try to make yourself, tell your story very strong. Anybody really will say, is this person we want to fund? So Raza, the last question, before we start taking questions, drop all your questions in the chat box. We'll attend to them. And then the recording will also be available on YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe. So which is the voluntary and leadership experience? It's saying that summarize the ways in which you have engaged in voluntary activities and the opportunities you have how to demonstrate leadership. So this is the voluntary and leadership experience, and it's a 500-word essay. So Mr. Razak, how can they answer this question?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Precious, for that. Again, this particular essay is an extension of your personal statement, and I can say that it's like you picking out specific things that you have done that are directly linked to be in a leadership role. And to actually, come up with a logical summation on this, you might want to look at the redefinition of who a leader is and the necessary characteristics of a good leader. Specifically, a leader should also be a servant. So that's why the aspect of being a volunteer comes into play. So whatever volunteering experiences you've had so far, please list them out. You might have, volunteered with 50 different organizations, no problem. You might have led, 50, at various points in time, you might have led several groups, no problem, get it noted. However, you should know the ones that are germane. And if I say germane, those experiences should be directly linked to your developmental impact statement. And like I said earlier, if you have, the mindset of having your developmental problem beside you before you write anything to TSC, you will definitely, recall that being a leader towards what you want to solve. At the same time, you've engaged with people at different level. Whatever position you've occupied before should be very, very linked to that problem that you want to solve. So they want to see the connection again here. And but the fortunate aspect of it is that if you had earlier arranged in a logical form your personal statement, you will have a lot of things to say here. And in fact, here you can if those that are from Nigeria, if you've done your NYSC already, NYSC alone can be used here to discuss all the volunteering experiences, knowing fully well that some of this information will not be probed. Yes, they will not be probed. But I can tell you, any reviewer picking your document can tell if you're actually lying because the connection will not be there. So if during your NYSC in Nigeria, well, for those that are not from Nigeria, NYSC is actually a mandatory National Youth Service program. It's a one-year program. So during that time, graduates engage in, they volunteer to the country. Now, it's a one-year program. Say you were attached to a particular PPA. That's a place of premier assignment. Whatever you have done in that PPA in the course of 1 year is enough on its own to address this particular, part in terms of being a volunteer, because the program on its own is actually a volunteering program anyway. So, but in this program, if you have led, a particular group, say for example, one CDS group, it means that you also have a leadership experience from being a volunteer. And whenever you are talking about it here, you might not actually use more than 4 paragraphs or 5 paragraphs, but let every paragraph talk, and then every paragraph centers around a particular experience, be it leadership, then volunteering. You can decide to arrange it as leadership, then volunteering. You can decide to arrange it leadership, volunteering. But let it flow well, and it should follow, an algorithm whereby we can look at the duration and the timing we show there. Don't tell us that, okay, here, maybe the second paragraph you mentioned that during your NYSC in 2010, you did this, and this. And when you come down, you now tell us that in 2001, you did something. The reviewer will be like, what was this one talking about? So you just arrange it in accordance, chronologically. Look at the years, quote the years. In fact, let us know the state where you actually carried out those activities. Let us know the organization so that we can quickly verify. Okay, if you say that you've worked with XSL organization, the reviewer can easily type it to Google, and and the information will pop out. And what I already said that if you lie here, if you actually tell a lie, we can actually know. And it's actually from stuff like this. You are talking about your leadership experience. You didn't mention your organization. You didn't mention the group that you led. And you didn't even mention the timeline. You didn't mention the states. So it's already clear that you just gather information, package it to CSC, thinking you will receive that congratulatory message. So that's very paramount. Additionally, if you have links to your publication at times, it goes a long way. Just put it there for them if you are trying to talk about your research skills and how you've been able, to lead some group in carrying out research. And here, it might not be in form of you carrying out research alone. It might be in form of you networking with those in another, country to come up with manuscripts. In fact, if the manuscript is not yet published, just quote it. In fact, put the manuscript ID there so as to make it more realistic. Additionally, if you know your LinkedIn profile is, will expose you if you give it to them as part of the link in your essay, because in your essay you are saying that, okay, you have worked with UNICEF, you have worked with WHO, but on your LinkedIn profile, you understand, all we could see there is, you have actually worked with Federal Ministry of Health. So you have actually exposed yourself. So ensure that whatever you are giving to them, anywhere when that particular stuff is verified, they will know that, okay, this person is actually saying the right thing. And if you have, during the course of your leadership or volunteering experience, you have won some medals or, award, let us know. Let us know the year. In fact, if it was presented to you by Nigeria president, please quote the president. In fact, if that information was published in Punch newspaper, please put the link to that Punch newspaper there that, okay, it was published. Put it in brackets. Let it be, stuff like that. So it will make it to look very, very real, and they will know that indeed you have done your research and you are actually ready to go into the stuff. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Razak, for that feedback. Just to add to what Razak has said, because he has done justice to this question. Now, again, on the issue of leadership, I want you to be careful. So don't just think that it's only when you hold a position to say, maybe class rep, or you're the CEO, or you hold the position in this organization that make you a leader. Leadership is also about taking initiative. They want to see someone can take action. So for instance, like in writing this essay, we say normally you should use like the STAR approach, which is the situation, the task, the action, and the result. For instance, you notice in your community that there's high case of cholera. So why is there high case of cholera? Because there's poor access to drinking water. So you took up the initiative to like maybe contact your House of Rep member, or you wrote to water aid organization to come and sink a borehole. That is leadership alone for you, because nobody asked you, you saw the problem, decided to take action. Don't just leave it as, okay, so you did this and that, then what next? So now, Water sank this borehole. Tell us, just as like I said, which community did they do it? Which year did they commission it? If possible, how many people live in this community? And to make your essay very strong, you can tell us that, okay, maybe 500 people used to die from cholera in this community before. But when water aid came now and then they sank this borehole, it reduced the percentage of cholera disease to 20%. This is a good example. It shows you the situation, the task, the action, the result. Then one thing I've noticed a lot in a lot of people is they will say they do awareness program. You're not the only one that can do awareness program. Awareness program, anybody can do awareness program. But what changed? To make it, what's changed? Okay, you say you did capacity building program for 1,000 youths. Did you measure impact to say, okay, out of this 1,000 youths that you did this leadership training for, maybe 50 out of these people now, they're not taking position in social organization, or their self-esteem. Give us number. If you use numbers to like back up your work, I'm telling you, there's nobody who will read everything. Like, I break down my work to pieces that without you, even though you will not even think of going to look at it, because the story is aligned. Everything is straightforward. Like, if you also got an award in NYC, just as he said, you can add it here in your example. Don't wait for only that part that asks you about publication and award. Like in this part of my essay, I added this, like I did a project during my NYC and it got me a state award. So after I wrote by the situation, the task, the action, and result, I now said, due to the impact of this project, I was even recognized by my state by giving the merit award by Ogun State. So I stated this thing clearly. You can add it down there. And then like a general question they also asked, let me just treat it here, which is about the issue of publication. It is not compulsory. I don't have any publication in a journal anywhere, and I got the scholarship. So don't bother yourself to say, oh, you must publish one article somewhere before you get the scholarship. The scholarship is holistic. They look at every other area. They just want to know if you have publication or not. But then if you don't have publication, but you have done an interview in the newspaper before, you can add that as publication to say you were interviewed by this. You can put the link to that publication. Or maybe you've published one post in a website, you can add the link. Or you've published a book before, you can add that as publication. So you can add those information as data. So now we start taking the question. And Razak, I saw a question here that says, is it expected that your choosing issue should have a link with one of the 17 SDGs? That being said, CSE themes are also drafted to all these goals. So how can you answer this?
Okay, it is very cogent for us to understand something. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. Now, your problem in the first place, I will keep calling it problem anyway. The developmental issue that you want to tackle is a must that it is in one way or the other directly linked to the SDG, because that's the global agenda that we are actually trying to pursue right now towards 2030. Before 2015, we were using Millennium Development Goal. Now, if you look into the CSE teams, you also realize that all the teams are, drafted to the SDG in one way or the other. A particular team might be connected to 2 or 3, one might be connected to 1, like that. So you're not actually trying to create anything new, just that your problem should be linked to an SDG, and that SDG definitely will be linked to one CSE team. For example, let's use the issue of the incidence of HIV prevalence. You want to try to address that issue, which is actually eating hard on SDG 3 in your country. That's the global agenda for health. Now, if you're able to address it, don't forget that the government is also working to address that situation in your country by strengthening the health system. Now, and there is a CSE team that says strengthening the health systems and what I've forgotten. Yeah, it is actually in line with CSE team, because you can't alone implement health programs or support reduction of HIV prevalence without the support of government. In fact, you are going to leverage whatever the platform that the government has provided for you. You understand? So whenever you are trying to connect, for example, the SDBV stuff is linked to so many SDG. Gender equity, that's SDG 5, if I'm not mistaken. Precious is even linked to good health, because evidence has revealed that child marriage leads to a number of health issues in adolescents. So if all these informations are linked together, just be specific on the SDG that you wish to to attack with your problem. And that SDG, if you look keenly, in fact, UCSC have made it very easy by putting that your course under a specific team. So it's very easy for you, if you are looking at public health, to know that public health will strengthen the health system, we make the health system, to be very responsive to whatever strain has been placed on it. So your focus should also be in line with that. No matter what you want to solve, should be under, the SDG, should be supporting SDG 3. And at the end of the day, SDG 3 will support the actualization of CSE team. So, and it's just in a simple sentence that you present it. If your problem is going to help this SDG as such, is in line with CSE team. So I just close it like that. You don't need to start divining what CSE teams is and what you are going to, how you are going to link the two together. In simple statement, just ensure that you connect your problem to the SDG. As soon as you are done with that, just link it up that is in line, definitely is in line with SDG team. Thank you. Hope I've been able to provide necessary justification.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much, Razak, for that. I want to say thank you to the Bristol scholars. So that was some of the Bristol scholars that attended the event this evening. I myself was suffering from network issues, so she has to go, and Fatima has exam tomorrow. So thank you, Razak, for staying to the end, and all of you. We wish you success in your application. And then so whatever university you're choosing, like the University of Bristol is a prestigious university, a Russell Group university, like we top among the 10 in the UK. But this does not mean that this only thing applies to what we are saying here. So irrespective of the school you decide to use, these things that we've shared will be relevant for your application. So in the absence of any other question, we'll end, and then the recording will be on YouTube. So subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the videos and share with others. So everybody's saying thank you. And with that, we say good night. Have a good evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye.